Yeah.
And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bashing us, him.
Boom, boom.
All right, we're live. Good morning. What's up, fellow knuckle dragger? What's going on?
Nothing, baby. August 1st, 2024. Good morning. You look like you just woke up, Eric. What are you doing?
Well, for me, it's 5 a.m. I'm out on the West Coast, so I haven't even had my coffee yet. I got water, but I'm ready to go.
That's
My
dedication.
My face looks like it's smashed in.
You look like you just got pinned to the mat in jiu-jitsu for like 5 or 6 minutes. With all the blood rushing. With all the blood rushing.
Well, I did do a couple of push-ups to wake up. So listen, good morning, everybody. Weigh in with us. New York's Finest Unfiltered Podcast. Listen, we had a great episode yesterday. Doing a watch party on that podcast. It was like the highlight of this podcast so far. Just they talk about evidence-based policing. I think we broke it down. Everything came full circle. Everything we've been saying on this podcast just came full circle. It solidified what we've been saying. But you know what we understand by that? Now we know why this administration hates us. It's because we've been right. We've hit the mark every time, brother. We sure have.
Yeah, wild. So we're going to give you guys a little crime update. All right. So this comes out from whitecollarfraud.com. This is Sam Antar. Excuse me. Apologies. So this is Sam Antar. Sam is the former CFO of Crazy Eddie's. He is a convicted felon. He is retired now. He works for the federal government years after being arrested for defrauding the people of Crazy Eddie's, if anybody's familiar with that scam that happened. And now he's retired, and his passion is numbers and statistics and data. We're trying to convince him to run for New York City Comptroller. So if he does, I'm voting for the felon. I hope you guys do too. But here's the real crime statistics without any fluff to it, without any bullshit. This is New York City crime stats. Breaking current year-to-date statistics on violent crime in New York City, week to date. So this was from August 30th backwards. And how the FBI underreported crime in New York City in 2023. So as it concerns violent major felonies 2024 versus 2023, for the year, violent major felonies are up 4.6%. Violent major felonies 2024 versus 2021, they're up 33.1% during Eric Adams' tenure as mayor. So since the time he's been the mayor, it's up 33.1%. Let's go to the year before, because people complain about this, say it's not fair. He walked into it. Violent major felonies 2024 versus 2019, actually 2 years before, excuse me. Up 34% since the year before the pandemic, bail reform and discovery reform. Eric, what do you think about that?
You know what? I'm curious. I'm curious if the public is going to be more insulted that crime is out of control and they're living in New York City under these crime conditions. Or are they going to be more insulted that they've been gaslit by this administration, just completely lied to, and this whole administration driving this ideology, perception versus reality? Perception is reality. Your perception that New York City is out of control, just complete crime chaos, is reality. And even without the data, we don't need the data to actually understand what we feel, what's going on in New York City. The data reflects your perception. Your perception is reality. So that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, Eric, you're breaking up a little bit. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a slap in the face to New York City residents when they sit there and they talk about crimes down. They post all these flyers. They spend New York City taxpayer money to prove that crime's down. It's an absolute slap in the face. When we talk about NYPD versus FBI data, I think that's something we need to get into too. When analyzing crime statistics, it's essential to delve deeper into the initial figures. Take New York City, the largest city in the United States, which accounts for 37% of the population in the FBI's major crime statistics. According to the FBI's 2023 report, there was a 10.6% reduction in violent crime, including murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault in city million reportedly experienced a 12.4% decline. However, data from New York City itself presents a contrasting narrative, indicating a 2.4% increase in violent crimes. This variance implies that the FBI's data failed to capture at least 9,000 violent events in New York City for that year. So FBI is reporting that there's a 12.4% decline in violent major felonies in New York City, while at the same time, the New York City is reporting there's a 2.4% increase in crime. So obviously you could see the data cannot be relied on.
Well, absolutely. And that's one thing that we learned when Sam Antar was on the show. He explained to us how you can manipulate data and how it was so effective when they were in business doing crazy eddies, and how easy, he said, that they don't even understand how to put out these fraudulent numbers, that they don't understand themselves. It's so easy for him to expose. That's why, again, I go back to that. I'm curious, will the people be more insulted, the fact that they're being lied to? Or they're more insulted that crime is out of control? But what do I think this administration will blame it on? They'll blame it on felony increases on this new phenomenon of assaults on police officers. Two migrants attacked police officers. One bit a police officer. They even threw a moped at the police officers. One police officer sustained contusions and a scratch to his cornea in his eye. So they'll blame the police officers that assaults are on the rise when it comes to assaults on cops, which is a felony index crime. And that's where I think they'll blame it on. I see that's the spot where we'll hit the mark.
So, and just to show you how there's zero oversight of the NYPD, there's zero oversight of crime statistics, and there's zero accuracy in today's crime statistics throughout the country, we would rely on the FBI to gather this data, right? Isn't that the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Intelligence, right? Isn't that what we expect them to do, to keep all of this stuff together, right? So look at this, for example. There's a significant discrepancy in 2023 for murder statistics being 13.6 and 43.9% lower than New York City's actual figures, even though the definition of murder remained the same. So what he's saying here is, even the murder statistics, where you would think it would be completely accurate, even murder, New York City has a completely larger number than the FBI is reporting. And that could be with time frames, but still, this is for the past year. So this should have already been delved out. This isn't minute to this isn't right up to date accurate numbers, but we're going backwards. It should be.
Well, again, this is the problem with statistics. Statistics can be manipulated. Again, we saw that, how Sam Antar explained to us. If anyone has an opportunity, please look back at a previous episode where we had Sam Antar from Crazy Eddie's on the show. And he explains that. He explains in detail how good he was with numbers, how easily these things can be manipulated, and how he was able to utilize the police department's own numbers to reflect the gaslighting to the public that they're giving out false information. But I also think that a lot of this data is outdated when it comes to the correlation between the FBI and the police department, how they report it. And especially, there should be a component where they actually report. I think there should be a dichotomy, right? Because they report felonies, but what do they not report to the public? They don't report low-level crime, because shoplifting's out of control, and shoplifting and prostitution, things like this that are an eyesore to the quality of life of New York City residents. These crimes are also out of control, and they really deteriorate the lifestyle for New York City residents. That's something that they should reflect on, and there should be another stat to show the quality of life conditions.
So I just pulled up on the screen what Eric was referring to. New York City migrants who bit two NYPD cops cut loose without bail. Open war on cops, reports the New York Post. Again, crime's rising. We're being told crime's down. We're being told what a great job Eric Adams doing, what a great job his administration's doing. We're being told that Alvin Bragg is a great partner and friend to the NYPD, and he also is now on the reporting of crime statistics as well. If you guys follow Alvin Bragg at Manhattan DA on his X account or any of his social media accounts, you will clearly see he continues to tout crime numbers. I highly suggest you follow my friend at Sam Antar and follow exactly how he points out the discrepancies in the reporting, in the underreporting. Eric, what do you think about this? Two illegal aliens who are here illegally jumped, bit cops, and they're cut loose without even bail. What do you think about that?
Well, I was just saying before how this is going to be part of the administration's gaslighting to the public to let the public know, hey, yeah, crime's out of control, but really it's a phenomenon of assaults on police officers. Yeah, there is a phenomenon of assaults on police officers, but that's a complete different segment. Even with that, crime is out of control. But the cops have been abandoned in New York City. And if the cops are abandoned by the justice system, then public safety has been abandoned also, because there's a direct correlation. The cops are symbolic of what's going on with public safety in any jurisdiction. This is insane. One cop in this, again, sustained some scratches. Some people are like, oh, well, you know what? You get bumps and bruises doing policing, but also a scratch cornea. But this is just reflective of what's going on in the city. But what's also curious, I'm curious to understand by this, and I want people to understand. So New York City is a sanctuary city, and yet we know that it's New York City migrants. It's illegal aliens, military-age males that are getting in these interactions and these tussles with police officers. But yet, if it's a sanctuary city, how do we know that they're migrants?
That's a great point, my friend. That's a great point. Well, thankfully, there are cops out there who are letting people know what's going on, like ourselves and the New York Post. So, Hassan, good morning, brother. We love being on here in the morning with you guys as well. I think this is definitely my favorite new thing to do. I loved podcasting, but I really like the lives a lot more. I like interacting. I like the open dialogue and the conversation. I think even more. It flows a lot better, and it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fluid. I would love at some point where we would be able to actually just bring people on, or we'll get a number to call in, things of that nature. We'll be working on that. There's a couple of things we're looking at. So first, we're going to take care of Eric's Wi-Fi while he travels on the road before we get too crazy. But yeah, Eric, I think you're 100% right, dude. 1,000% right. I mean, this is just a highlight in the failure of public safety. We can't even keep the people that we expect to go out and provide public safety safe from attackers, safe from assaults. We're not even seeking to give them justice when they're victims of crime. How are we giving justice to the public? We're not. Clearly not. Clearly, that this article, the headline tells you everything. I mean, Kathy Hochul said we fixed bail reform. Eric Adams said we fixed bail reform. Obviously, we didn't fix bail reform. Obviously, there's a lot of problems in our criminal justice system, and everyone's seeing it. And that's why New York City and other major metropolitan cities who are under Democratic control are a highlight and exactly what not to do.
Hey, Hassan, good morning, brother. Thanks for jumping in, getting in early with us. 8 o'clock Eastern time, but of course for me it's 5 a.m. It's out of control. It's out of control. But you know what? In their perspective, in the perspective of the Democrats, bail reform has been fixed. Bail reform has been corrected because it's a criminal-first society. But looking at this from a common sense perspective, someone would say, wait a minute, the police officers are being attacked, and those perpetrators are released on their own recognizance. And not only that, they're a flight risk because we're admittedly saying that they're New York City migrants. So completely they're a flight risk, which goes against everything we talk about with bail reform. But this is out of control. It just shows it's a criminal-first society, and there's no correlation to public safety. And these Democrats don't care about your public safety, because if they did, they would support the cops, even if they are anti-police, anti-legislation. They don't support you.
I want to bring something up on the screen right now. This is just another example of the insanity of New York City. This came out last night. Oyla Scudacast. I don't know if you guys follow her, but she works for Freedom News TV. She posted this yesterday. I'm just gonna play this real quick. Let me put the volume on for you guys. This just shows how insane and how New York City has become. It's a complete utter shit show. Hold on.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Good job. Open your eyes. Open. Call a fucking ambulance.
You didn't even arrest her. You let her walk away.
Get out.
What are you doing?
We don't need you. Back up. I'm not touching you. Back up. You leave her alone. We don't need you. They're being treated.
You guys can do whatever you do. You pull him away.
Wow, I can't even watch that, dude. What do you got, Eric?
My blood is boiling watching that, but listen. I'm so happy to be in retirement. I love what we're doing. But it's times like this when I watch these videos where I get that itch for a second. I feel the blood rolling through my veins. I'm like, man, I wish I was there right now just to help them. This is right now. This is what the administration for the NYPD is trying to have the public in resistance is perception versus reality. Your perception of what's going on in the city is reality. And this is the reality right here. The police department is met with resistance on every front and every end of policing. Here, they're just trying to provide aid and provide assistance, doing exactly what we'd expect from our police officers, even the leadership here of what they're paid and trained to do. And that's to assist on all ends. And they're being met with resistance just to provide aid. It's impossible to be a police officer. And bail reform is definitely a huge component. And we see it here as 2 migrants attack police officers. And the police officers are met with resistance on every end and every facet of police work.
Yeah, this is very hard to watch. I mean, that's a protest, Lily. It's a protest in the city. I believe it was a counter protest. I think it was a pro-Palestinian protest, and there was a pro-Israeli protest. But clearly, what you see on the ground is a young female. Who cares who's protesting what? Who cares? This is America. You can protest whatever you want. This is the right to protest, right? That's what's beautiful about this country. And the girl's on the floor. She needs help. They're screaming. The parents are screaming, get an ambulance. This captain comes over. He tries to provide assistance. And you see the men step in front. No, get out of here. We don't want your help. I mean, it's complete insanity. These are guys that could get you assistance right away. They're not there in any type of enforcement action other than to help the young guy, the young lady who's on the floor. I don't know if she overheated. I don't know if she was sprayed with pepper spray. Hold on. Let me read what she wrote. I lost it. But she might have been sprayed with pepper spray because I'm going to bring in another video in a minute about the pepper spray. Or she just overheated and she looks like she's on the floor. They're giving her water and they're trying to fan her. The cops are coming over just to ascertain what's going on, to give the information to EMS, clear a pathway so EMS can get there, get this young girl medical attention ASAP. And then it gets crazy. And that's what I've been saying for a long time. Like when we used to show up to scenes, we used to show up to 911 calls. There was a calming presence when the cops showed up. We would show up, there would be someone dead on the floor, and all of a sudden the screaming would stop, and people, the seas would part. And now that's not what's happening. We're showing up and things are getting absolutely even crazier. And that's totally based on the politics of this city. And Lily, just to answer your questions, 100% we're going to be going back to Twitter live. Elon Musk, I changed my photo on Twitter, and I have no idea why that unverified me and why I'm not allowed to do Twitter. I contacted Twitter the last 6 days and asked them to just restore my live. I could care less about the check mark. So we're waiting there. Yeah, sorry, Eric. Sorry to rant on that, but it was you were cracking up a little bit too, Eric. So let's see what you got.
Hey, we're gonna get those Wi-Fi issues straightened out. We're troubleshooting them right now. So if there's any Wi-Fi issues, we apologize, but we get the content to you. Robert M. Sepify, brother, thank you very much. Good morning. Listen, again, this is reflective of what's going on in the city, but yet, you know what we don't hear from the military-age males, the illegal aliens of New York City? We don't hear them say, hey, we don't want your help. We'll take your credit cards. We'll take your food. We'll take your jobs, but we don't want your police assistance. We don't want your authority. We don't respect your government. That's where I see a problem.
It's not just them, dude. Like it's everybody. It's the whole like ecosphere in New York City. There's zero respect for the police. I don't even care if you support the police. You could look at the protesters in Staten Island. You could look at the pro-Israeli protesters. You could look at the pro-Palestinian protesters. And you know what they have in common? They have zero respect for the cops. One may or may not support the police more. I believe all of them have friends and family that are cops. But if you really start to talk to anybody, and I've talked to numerous people in New York. I was in New York all last month, and I talked to everybody. I was in Manhattan almost every day. I talked to everybody when I was there. And they don't know what's going on with New York City. And there was also a common theme. Nobody was too happy with Eric Adams either, unless they were getting paid big bucks by Eric Adams. The people that were getting paid big bucks by Eric Adams actually told me I was wrong about Eric Adams. But I said, if he wasn't paying you over $200,000 a year, I think you might have a different opinion, but I'll take your opinion. I appreciate it. So, but I'm going to continue to smash Eric Adams because I think ultimately this falls on his inability to tell New Yorkers the truth. There is a crime problem in New York City. There is a real crime, and the police force is, in my opinion, is being used completely improperly. And the way they're being utilized, they're taking good people and they're turning people who traditionally wouldn't be against the police against the NYPD. That's how I see it.
John, it's interesting. We talked about New York City. You were back in New York. Your feet were on the ground. You were back in the city walking around, coming from Florida. And you said you were surprised, even with everything going on there. The city was bustling. You were downtown. But did you make your way to Times Square? Because Times Square is the hub for tourism. And I can see right now, I mean, how do you sell that to tourists right now? Who wants to come to New York City, especially Times Square? That's the mecca for New York City. That's the spot that everyone wants to go to. And that's what you see right now. It's just completely encompassed by migrants, illegal aliens, military-age males. It looks like, honestly, and even the last year of the tenure of my career, I was doing overtime in Times Square, and it was out of control. I was like, who the hell wants to come here?
Up to Times Square. Times Square is a shit show, but I'll be honest. I think Times Square was always a shit show, and it was always one of my least favorite places to be in New York City. It was never something that I liked. It was never a place I really liked to be at. It's just too crowded. I can't stand places that are like that, where they're just too crowded, and it's not my cup of tea. It really is a tourist trap. I did go by there. It's a complete shit show, but I can't say that it looks so different to me. There are definitely a lot more people that I see that were looking that I would be watching if I was a cop, and I was definitely a lot less presence of police than I normally would see. But I mean, all in all, I'm not a huge fan of Times Square ever. I always think it's wild.
Listen, you're right. I mean, but we're also New York. We're New York City born. We're New York City raised, and for us, that phenomenon of Times Square is not there. It's not a novelty to us. just like, anywhere that you live, whatever novelty is there, it's probably something that you don't experience. But for most tourists, they want to go to Times Square. They want to experience the skyscrapers, experience what it's like to be in large crowds, just to feel that. But right now, I mean, I saw my last year doing overtime in Times Square was out of control. And we would see on the side streets that we were having numerous problems. We were having problems with gangs. At the time, I didn't see the gangs of military-age males. I'm sure it's out of control right now with military-age males, but the crime numbers were insane. I saw a lot of perpetrators that I dealt with South Bronx in Times Square. It's a very, very transient place, and I think right now it's going to hurt tourism. Like I said, if I was a tourist, I would not want to be there.
I'm going to try to move myself. I think I'm having a little problem with Eric, just take over for 1 minute, bro.
Absolutely. We're getting on track here. Again, I think Times Square, Times Square has always been this place that has kind of like this aura to it, right? The 70s and 80s, it was all about sex shops and all kinds of X-rated videos, and it had this component to it where you would see prostitutes in the street, but it still had that tourism level to it. But for years during the Giuliani era, we brought Times Square back. It was like the place at Disney. It was almost like the Disneyland in New York City. But right now, it's completely out of control with these illegal aliens. But again, that's why I say a sanctuary city is a city that protects criminals, and it puts a society completely at risk of public safety, because these sanctuary cities are protecting criminals in Times Square. It's just insane. I mean, hey, Rick Ingberg, good morning. Listen, you're saying thank you to us for being brave by our opinion. Everyone should not be afraid to give your opinion. That's the point of this podcast. We're giving our opinion with anecdotal experience. We provide data, and we give our critical opinion on public figures, politicians, because it ultimately affects policing. Policing has been affected by politics. It's no longer apolitical. Our justice system is not blind. So thank you so much. We have to give our opinions. We have to speak up. For years, I saw on this thread here was one of the comments is from a fellow Marine. He knows as a Marine that we are kind of, for years we understand in the Marine Corps that to do what you're told and not to ask questions because it could put lives on the line. But as we move further, I can clearly see that we're at a point here that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We have to speak up. Generations have changed, and we could move mountains with communication. Communication breaks barriers. We have to break those barriers, and we're doing it right here with this podcast, and with you on these lives communicating with us. It breaks barriers. I see some people talking here in the comments. Starlink Wi-Fi winning today. Yeah, listen, we got the Starlink. It's working well, but I think we're having issues also on John's end. John, what's going on? You have any issues?
I don't know, dude. Listen, I'm going to switch over Wi-Fi. Give us 1 second, guys. If we lose you for 1 second, just hang on. We'll be right back. I'm just going to switch to a different Wi-Fi network. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys, if you can see right now what's going on. Listen, we apologize for the technical issues. I got the Starlink. It's supposed to be great, right? It's with Tesla. I'm telling you, Elon Musk, can you fix our stuff? What's going on here? This is out of control.
All right.
What do you got now? A new Wi-Fi extender?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I think it's your Starlink pulling me down, to be honest with you, but we'll see. How do you hear me, Eric? Am I right over here?
Yeah, you sound good. I'm actually looking at the statistics and all the diagnosis to the Starlink. It looks good.
So sorry about that little mishap, people. But all right. So listen, now I'm going to bring up a video from Times Square. We just saw the video where the young girl is either pepper sprayed or overheated, and the cops can't get to her because the people are saying, no, get out of here. We don't want you. I'm going to bring up a video. Same instance. This is a counter protest. It's pro-Israel protest versus a pro-Palestine protest. Two pro-Israel people are surrounded. They're surrounded by a crowd, and they're getting stuff thrown at them. I'm going to bring in this video. I think you're going to see some crazy stuff here. Watch this.
She was protecting herself. She's protecting herself against those thugs. She's wait, what's your back?
So, Eric, what do you think about that, bro? I mean, I got a lot of thoughts about that.
Whatever you did with the Wi-Fi, first of all, it's way better right now. Your picture is clear. You're not freezing up at all. So
Was my hair?
I don't know. Can't totally blame it on the Starlink today. But well, listen. First of all, looking at this video, this just shows the state of New York City. It's out of control. It's total chaos. And I'm going to say this: I don't completely blame the cops at this point. All right, bad situation. They have an angry mob. They do have someone that deployed pepper spray in self-defense. But at this point, I don't disagree with the fact they're making the arrest. Right, and some people say, "Oh, why are they arresting her? She is defending herself at this point. It's out of control." But you are innocent. Excuse me. You are innocent till proven guilty, and sometimes you have to make the arrest. And you make the arrest, it should alleviate the situation and bring things to a quell. And at this point, they should also be investigating these rioters and making some arrests. Also, she should not be prosecuted. But to make the arrest, I understand, because you have to also affirm and make sure that in her defense that she had the right to defend herself. But these protesters are out of control. They're not protesters. They're rioters. This is what's going on here. It's just engulfed and inflamed in Times Square. The entire city is engulfed with these BLM and pro-Palestinian rioters that are encompassing the city. This is out of control.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have no problem with them taking her into handcuffs while they do an investigation. I don't think they needed to put her in handcuffs. I'll be honest with you, because I think the pepper spray should have been taken out of her hand immediately. But in the long run, she's surrounded by a crowd. She's getting things thrown at her. She's getting liquid thrown at her. She's being sprayed herself. And she ultimately decides she's going to use self-defense and pepper sprays people to protect herself. So I think that legally, I think I would do the same exact thing, to be honest with you. I would do exactly what she did. I don't see anything wrong with what she did. But again, this is what I'm saying is you're seeing regular people going to watch this and say, what are the police doing? They're arresting someone who took self-defense, who basically had a self-defense process. Again, shit thrown at her. She's surrounded by a crowd. She's not allowed to move freely. She's completely outnumbered. Well, even the protesters is trying to protect them. You see it there. You see the black guy. He has like the kippah on he's wearing, and you could tell he's a pro-Palestinian protester, but he's trying to protect them, like get them out of there, and they can't get out of there. So she's completely scared. She has every reason to defend herself at that point. But where are the cops then? Why do the cops come in to arrest her, but they don't come in to make sure she could get out of there? They seen what was going on. Those were the same cops that they wouldn't let in to help the young lady. They saw what was going on. They stood there. So I do fault the cops for putting her in handcuffs, because at the same time, I'm sitting here saying, well, if you rolled up to the scene and you don't know what's going on, yeah, absolutely. You're going to figure out what's going on. You might put people in handcuffs and conduct an investigation. But they witnessed what happened. And what they did, again, is what we talked about here, is they went for the easy target. She's the easy target. The mob rules. New York City, go out with a mob. We used to, as the NYPD, when I was on the NYPD, when you were on the NYPD, we used to control the crowd. We did what was known as crowd control. Now, since 2020, the crowd controls us. Here's another example of that.
You nailed the mark right there. That's exactly what I was going to say. But here's the problem. The police officers no longer know what their job is. They don't know what their vision is. They don't know what their job is. They don't know that intrusive police work is the bedrock and foundation to police work, because they're directed in other ways. They have no vision. And that's exactly the key to intrusive police work. If the police officers were keen on watching indicative behavior that's going to lead to some form of violence, the police officers would have acted prior to this. they would already see that something's going on and actually identify these behavioral indicators. Is it wrong to have a scarf around your neck that's pro-Palestinian? No. But this is obtuse. They should be watching this and monitoring this, and they should have intercepted before she even had to deploy her pepper spray. But those are the behavioral indicators. Those are the key factors of police that do intrusive police work. But no longer do police do intrusive police work. They just do knee-jerk reactions because that's the leadership what's going on. And you're right. They went for the easy target. It's exactly what we say. They always go for the easy target because if they would have arrested the Palestinian protesters, if they would have arrested those that actually created the violence, they would have been met with resistance. And they don't want any complaints. They don't want to have to explain anything to the CCRB, city council, explain to their woke progressive leadership in the police department. So instead, they go for the easy mark, the one that actually defended herself. Now, I have no issues. That's what I said. I don't even have issues with them handcuffing her and taking her out of the equation and putting her in handcuffs, even if it's not to arrest her, just to give the appearance, just to bring it to a quell, just to show a mirage to the angry mob. But at some point, the police officers should have gotten together and said, listen, and there's nothing wrong. It's a tactical retreat. Say, listen, this is the issue that we have. These are the conditions. These are the perpetrators that incited this actual riot, because that's what it is. That's an all-out riot when you have someone pepper spraying to defend themselves and there's more than 10 people. Let's get some fellow cops. Let's identify who's part of this group and let's remove them, because if we don't, there's going to be another issue. And again, they go for the easy target because the standard is to arrest anyone that's on the conservative side of things, not the ones that actually cause the problems in New York City.
I agree with you. Wisecracker, that was a Hamas terrorist let me wear a Nazi armband. What would happen? Donald Trump made a speech last night. I love his speeches. I wasn't too happy when he said that people who burn our flags should be arrested, right? Because for years and years and years, my whole entire life, I always thought that, but I was told that was freedom of speech, right? I was told that was freedom of speech. So I agree with you, Wisecracker, that they would try to arrest you, but I don't think you should be arrested because I believe in ultimate freedom of speech. Now, if we're going to lock people up when they burn LGBTQ flags, then 100% we should be locking people up when they burn American flags, right? But there's no standard. The standard is if you abide by the leftist progressive narrative and you're a leftist progressive, the laws don't apply to you. If you're a right-wing conservative, you believe in common sense, there's a completely different justice system for you. You will be held to the letter of law. They'll go through your bank account. They'll look for a 5-cent payment that you were supposed to pay taxes on that you didn't pay tax on 5 cents, and they'll throw you in jail. There's a 2-tier justice system in America, and that's what we're seeing here. That's what's happening on a very smaller scale here. So I agree with you, but it is what it is. And then Giancarlo says, well, dude, where'd you see any BLM protesters? BLM doesn't exist anymore. And he's right. I mean, what were they first? They were the people that wanted to bring down Wall Street, right? They were them. Then they were BLM. Then they were the Stonewall protesters. Then now they're the pro-Palestinian protesters and the anti-police protests. Whatever the thing is of the day, I could clearly, I'll show you video after video. One of our favorite followers, what's his name? The big tall black guy with the dreads. Relly Rebel, as he calls himself on Instagram, or Relly Rel, if you ever see him. You must have seen him in a million videos, like yelling at cops, and he's screaming in people's faces. And he literally has a different getup on every time. He's a paid agitator. In my opinion, if anybody looked into anything that he did, if they looked into his financial records, you're going to see he gets paid through New York City not-for-profits. Because how do you go to protests every day in New York City? I don't know. I work. I have to feed my kids. I don't have time to go to protests. Eric doesn't have time to go to protest. How do you go to a protest every day and every leftist narrative you're for? There's no difference between you and what the Democratic Party is saying. So that's you get a ton of guys like Relly Rel. So yeah, it's just a new thing. There are people from Palestine there protesting, but the majority of people you're going to see are white leftists who have been known to associate with Antifa.
There's a comment here from Wisecracker that I just want to read, and I think he's absolutely right. It's unfortunate, but he's absolutely right, because it goes back to what we're saying about standards and who they're actually arresting. And he said they They only back off the crowd if the crowd is Muslims or blacks, to be honest. And he's right about that. It's nothing racist, but that's what we see right now. That's what's going on. That's the propaganda in New York City. That if we have a BLM crowd, excuse me, or if we have a pro-Palestinian crowd of Muslims, that the New York City Department is handicapped. There's no leadership. They don't know exactly what their mission is. And they're afraid because of politics. Because policing in America, especially in New York City, is no longer apolitical. Policing is no longer blind justice. Policing has political theater. Right now, I always say policing is the most tangible form of government that you could see in America, which is why the Democrats attack with legislation to the police department. Because if you remove the police department and ban it from it, or actually change the nomenclature of law enforcement, you can change the entire country. And we see it going on here right now. But that's why I say all these paid agitators, they're all the same horse, different color, because they're all the same agitators. And they know if we dress in costumes, and I'm sure they're not all Muslims, if we dress in costumes as Muslim agitators, as pro-Palestinian, the police department will back off because of politics. If we act as BLM rioters, the police department will back off of us because of race issues. So there's always some type of card being implemented to have the police department back off, because we see a complete different comparison. For the protesters in Staten Island that actually protest illegal activity of military-aged males occupying a conservative part of the city, they're met with complete resistance. We even saw an elderly man, and shame on that sergeant that dealt with the elderly white man who was jaywalking. He was met with extreme resistance. We see, right? He was a tough guy with him. We see a complete different approach. But Relly Rel, who weighs this much, but he's 6'3", gets in police officers' face, it gets in a cop's face, and they do nothing. Why? Because it's exactly what I've been talking about. So wisecracker, you hit the nail on the head. And you know what? We have to be honest. That's the only way that we can actually ever give a fair assessment and get back to societal norms is by speaking out and speaking the truth. If we start with lies and worrying about offending people, we'll never speak the truth. If we're not offending anyone, we're lying.
So, Eric, I'm going to steal that quote for you. I'm going to write a book about policing. I'm going to open up with policing's the most tangible form of government. So I'm going to steal that. So write this down. 4216 when you sue me for stealing your quote. It's today's 8/1/2024.
I'm good for one-liners.
It's a great quote. So Victor, yes, you're right. Just another day in the Democratic Republic of New York. If anybody follows our social media, you will be very familiar with the patches that we've put out, that we've came up with, which is the New York the Republic of New York's party department, or the Republic of New York's fire department, and things of that nature. So definitely check us out on social media. Listen, another thing I was asked to talk about by a bunch of people. There was an article that came out. I'm not going to pull it up because it's a Daily News article, and I'm not paying for the Daily News. I don't know if you guys are, but I refuse to. So if you want me to read your paper, make it free. But I'll read the headlines, right? And the headline was that top executives in the NYPD's SUVs are being hit with summonses, and they're not being paid, and they don't know the reasoning behind it. What are your initial thoughts, Eric? I'll be back in 2 seconds. Let the audience know I could hear you, but I spilled coffee all over myself, and I just gotta get.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Keep the coffee on it. It's all good.
I'll be right back. I can hear you. I can hear you. Talk.
Well, what did you ask again? Man, I got sidetracked. Think about your coffee on you. No, we're talking about
the SUVs.
Yeah. Listen, I was a special ops lieutenant. All right, I was an anti-crime sergeant. And I can tell you this: I used to get numerous tickets on the unmarked cars. We would get tickets. Sometimes we would get tickets because we were going to court. We were actually doing a police work. Anyone here that does special operations work, especially if you were anti-crime before, if you were in plain clothes, if you have enough time, because of course, like everything else with the police department, anti-crime was disbanded. Anything that has to do with real police work has been disbanded by the police department. But we used to get tickets all the time. We would get tickets, we'd go out, we're taking a break, and we're getting lunch, or just getting a cup of coffee. We would get a summons. And you know what we would do? When we got that ticket, we all chipped in. We didn't point blame who parked the car. Everyone got together, all my teams, when I was a special operations lieutenant, PSA 7, and we used to have an envelope on the wall with the ticket. and we'd all chip in. We'd put the money in, and eventually one of us would write a check, and we would pay the ticket. We wouldn't even tell the job, and we made sure to take care of it. But what's going on right now is just complete corruption, because these unmarked cars, obviously they're not being used for emergencies. They're getting summonses. They're not being paid. But the question is, what else are they being used for? Are they being used to perpetuate other issues going on that may be something to do with Consafritos, right? Sal Greco, I know you're watching this. You know, something to help out their business. Are they using it to go out to party? If they use it to pick up women? These are questions. They should be getting paid. If you're not using it for an emergency, they should be getting paid. It's always been kind of like an unwritten rule. It's something that goes on with the job. Listen, I appreciate the comments here. Thank you, everyone, for being engaged with us. It's early in the morning, but you know what? We're having our coffee together. We're discussing real issues.
Absolutely. Before I go on the SUVs, I just want to talk about that. The New York City, the NYPD's police commissioner, Ed Caban, his brother's business, who he was in business with, Jimmy Rodriguez, formerly the Bronx Cafe, the business was shut down. So I'm waiting to receive threats because they didn't pay their bills and they didn't operate their business legally. I don't know how that has anything to do with myself, this podcast, Eric Dim. I could give two shits about them or their business. They're a bunch of dirtbags. So, but I'm expecting some more threats because Jimmy said he was going to come see me soon because he can't operate his business. I don't know what that has to do with me. Maybe pay your bills, Jimmy. You won't have a problem. But let me know. I'll come. We could have lunch. We could have dinner. You know, whatever you want to do. It's fine with me. I don't know what that has to do with me, and I'd love to know why my name ever even got brought up in the first place about your business being shut down. Had nothing to do with me. Had everything to do with the fact that you don't operate your business properly, and you use your friendship with the police commissioner, who's probably has an interest in the business, and the mayor, who God only knows what he's doing there. He likes to go pick up guys one night, girls the next night. Whatever he's doing there, that's none of my business. You know, I don't care. Whatever you guys do, you guys want to swing, you want to play both ways, has nothing to do with me. So keep my name out of it. Has everything to do with you being dirtbags and not
well,
John, the owner of the property kicked them off. It had nothing to do with us. Wait,
but
sorry,
shame on you. Shame on you for being a straight white male, brother. Shame on you. You need to be a two-spirit. You know, that's why we got the right mayor in place.
But speaking on the SUV topic now. So speaking on the SUV topic now, wait, before I go on the SUV topic, this does the Consafritos thing, it does clearly highlight that the charge of criminal association is bullshit, that Sal Greco should be restored. He should have his job back. If the police commissioner is hanging out with known criminals and known felons, and he's doing it nightly, and he's involved in businesses where there are known felons hanging out, and he's hanging out with them, then clearly that charge of criminal association is arbitrary and capricious. They use it arbitrarily to go after their political opponents, and that's what we see there. Sorry for the rant.
You said you were going to talk about the SUVs. We got stuck on Consafritos. I'm still waiting to talk.
You sidetracked me with the Consafritos. So the SUVs, listen, if you're responding to a job, I'm sure Kaz Daughtry, listen, Kaz Daughtry is a child, and I'm going to bring in a video here in a minute, and then I'll show you how much of a child he is. But like, if you're responding to a 911 call, obviously you're not going to worry about camera lights, right? You're going to go through, you're going to operate as safely as you can to get to where you need to be without endangering New Yorkers' lives. I don't think Kaz Daughtry is going to do that. I think he's going to blow through. I think he's going to blow through red lights to get a Twitter photo or to get to a press conference or to get to things of that nature. He's a child. If he was in my squad, I would tell the other guy, you're driving. He's not driving. Right. So I think that if you're going to a legitimate emergency and you have a legitimate purpose to be there, which I don't believe NYPD executives rarely do unless it's a major scene. Maybe at that point they need to be there. Then, of course, you should fill out the form that we all needed to fill out and the justification on why you needed to take that red light or why you needed to drive past that school zone or why you needed to speed, things of that nature. But that's not what's happening here. Ed Caban, I've never seen the guy at one job. So people don't even know he's the police commissioner. Everyone asks at every press, where is Ed Caban? Where is he? I don't know. I don't know where he is. Have you seen him? I haven't seen him. You know, I see him very rarely. You know, I haven't never seen him. I mean, so People are asking now, why would his SUV go through red lights? Why would his SUV speed through school zones? So, and then the tickets are being paid by New York City taxpayers. Like I've gotten tickets on unmarked cars because I parked illegally, even though I had the plaque and I'm allowed to park based upon the plaque standards, and I paid the ticket. I paid the ticket out of my own pocket. I didn't expect New York City taxpayers to pay it. I said, whatever. The ticket was written improperly because I'm actually allowed, as per New York City charter, to park in here, but I still paid it. They're not paying these tickets. You're paying the tickets. So to me, it's rules for thee, not for me. Who said it? Willie Wolf. Rules for thee, not for me. It's exactly what this is. You're being held responsible. They're breaking the law. This is a form of corruption. Parking placard, that loser that's all over Twitter with his number one concern is where cops park and where firemen park. He's all over Twitter complaining about him and Gersh Kuntzman. Best name. I didn't even add that into his name. That's his actual name, Kuntzman, and it describes him perfectly. They care about where cops park. They should be more upset about this than a cop who's parking his personal car in Manhattan to provide public safety. And by the way, who's allowed to park there.
I just want to awesome comment, awesome question. Gary Nadler, good morning, brother. Here's his question. Is Cass Daughtry really being considered for Secret Service? Now, I can tell you this. It's a rumor, but after this video we're about to play, he's definitely not getting the job. Definitely not going to get a job because you can see how immature and how, as in a position of leadership, he doesn't understand patience, and he doesn't understand that sometimes the best leaders get out of the way. Sometimes you have to know, get out of the way. And John, if you have it, let's play it.
Don't be putting me on the spot like that, bro.
This is a test. You're ready to go.
Eric, I'm gonna leave this up to you. The thing will here we go. I'm gonna get it up.
Yeah, forget about it.
So let's watch this. Let's watch this video, right? So this is Michael Kemper. He's gonna sit there after he just got done telling you how safe New York City subways are. And we did a whole episode about this, about how it's a violation of Fourth Amendment rights. John, down in the bottom, Johnny Angel, he sent us a video from Ray Kelly talking about how there were Fourth Amendment concerns, that he had Fourth Amendment concerns over a decade ago, but they were looking at the technology for certain instances, never mentioned the subway. So he's sitting there telling you how safe New York City subways are, but it's so safe that in order for you to just ride on this one station, you have to give away your Fourth Amendment rights and submit to a search. And if you don't, you'll be ejected from the train station. Now, a reporter asks a brilliant question. How do you stop people from going around the machine or going to a different station? And he's like, because he can't answer the question because they have no plan in place for that. Because again, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all perception versus reality. And you'll clearly hear that with that reporter question. You'll hear Kemper, there's cops everywhere. We got cops everywhere. Cops are everywhere. So it's only going to be at this one station. It's a pilot program. It's a complete joke. I'm not going through that live scan. I'll tell you right now, I'll walk around it. I'll find my way around that thing in that same train station. Guaranteed I'll get through that train station without ever getting through there. So he says that, but I want you to pay particular attention to, as he's talking, Cass Daughtry, and you're going to see what a child he is. You're going to see why there was a break from him being a cadet and always wanted to be a cop to 7 years later, him becoming a cop. Right. And I'm going to say, I think some of what Tanya Meisenholder spoke about yesterday about the psych and making the psych a little bit easier. I think maybe he might have had a problem on the psych. I don't have any information on that. Again, it's HIPAA law. Only my private medical information is okay to be given to everybody in the thousands of New Yorkers. We won't know Cass Daughtry's. But why was there a break? I think clearly you're going to see why there was a break.
So it's going to be positioned before they pay. So it's not going to be they pay and then they're going to be subject to this. And like it was mentioned before, if they opt to decline, like, hey, I don't want to go through the machine, I don't want to get wanded, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. They just will not be allowed entry into the subway system. Well, they'll be asked to leave if they refuse and act disorderly. They could be, but they're certainly not going to be allowed entry through the turnstile and into the subway system.
Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah, they could. We'll have cops positioned all over. I mean, it's a hypothetical.
I watch this like 30 times.
They will not be going into the subway system.
Look at him. Look at him in the background. Like a
to,
child. He can't even hold it.
And the mayor, just wanted to say one more thing.
My kids have more discipline.
We're not saying this is the end-all solution for weapons detection. We, like the mayor says, he put a call out to other tech companies to contact us. And because you guys ran a couple of stories today, I already got 3 companies that contacted me. So we are in the process of vetting other companies to see if we can introduce new technology down here to keep strap hangers in New York safe.
How funny, dude. And then the funnier part of the whole thing is he says, what does he say? He says, the reporter asks him a question. He comes in and says absolutely nothing. The reporter asks him a question and he goes, I'm not answering that. And he runs away. He's sitting there. Hold on. I'm going to play it in replay while you talk about it. What do you think about that? Is that something that you should do? Is that something you would ever do at a press conference?
First of all, I watched that about 30 times. I wouldn't do that if I wasn't just in real.
See, that's Eric Stalling. See, Elon Musk. Go ahead. You're back. Go ahead. What are you saying?
I said, if my friend, I forget about a press conference. If my friend was having a conversation with somebody, I wouldn't be like, oh, let me talk. I mean, sometimes being a good friend or just being a leader is know when to get out of the way. Wait your turn. This is, again, this always comes down to what I've been saying. Egos over everything. It's just about him having his face and everything. It's become so important to him to have this stage photo op, to be part of it. That's all it is. He just wants to be a part of it. He's like a little kid. He has got no discipline. That is a leadership skill. Sometimes as a leader, you have to know to get out of the way. And I'll say, even Mayor Eric Adams, at some point, he looked like he wanted to like bop him in the head with something. Like even you can tell him he's looking at him like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Because he didn't add anything to the conversation. Anything. Sometimes it's not the skill of knowing what to say. It's knowing what to not to say. And sometimes you're better off not saying anything because you open the door for more questions with his ideology stuff about technology. And I mean, I have to say, I got to look at Michael Kemper. Too pale, too male, and too stale. Right in the middle of his chocolate friends here. And of course, I tell you what, if I ever decide one day in life to own a car dealership, I want to hire Michael Kemper. I love Michael Kemper because I listen to him sometimes. I say, do people actually listen to the bullshit that comes out of his mouth? This guy could sell you anything. Hey, you can come to transit all you want. You just can't come inside and ride the train. I want to have him sell cars. Hey, listen, I got this great car. It's got no wheels on it, but you can get inside and you can start it up. Can't drive it anywhere, but you can get in the car. This is, honestly, you no longer need Comedy Central. If you're here right now live with us, you don't need Comedy Central. You got it right here. This is Comedy Hour. Kaz, I'm not kidding. I watch it over and over of him like, oh, can he talk? Can you please step aside? Look at him. He has to get in the picture. That's what this is about. He has to be in the video.
Slow motion, people. So watch it. Kaz is a good friend to Sid Rosenberg. Sid Rosenberg's a cuck. That's first off. So's Sliwa. I don't care about either of those guys. You know, everybody's a friend to Sid Rosenberg. But yeah, 100%. I listen. If I own a company, well, I do own a few companies. So Mike, John Shell, when you guys retire, I'll gladly hire you. Because I could send you to threaten people for me, like you normally do, and intimidate people, especially if any of my other employees get a sexual harassment complaint against them. John Shell will be right there to try to send him and his goons to threaten them, as well as they'll say anything they're told. Look at Mike; he's doing the dance. Yeah, everything's safe. You just can't come in here. No big deal. Everything's safe. We got cops everywhere. Everything's good. You just got to submit to a search. Not the bad guy, though. But look at this in slow motion, dude. Look at him. He can't hold it. He's got his head down. He can't hold his composure to say absolutely nothing. Look at him. He wants to, like, and like good on Kemper for finishing what the hell he's saying. He's probably like what he's focused on trying to answer the question, and he has a child behind, a big like 6'4" child behind him who's like, let me in, let me get in there. Look at this, it's hysterical.
You got to read the comments on this. The comments on this are awesome. Somebody put, what a dweeb, Michael August, pick me. So of course someone put a good friend of Sid Rosenberg, ADHD Kaz. I mean, look, everybody sees it. It's just ridiculous. You know what? I will say this. Good job for Michael Kemper standing his ground. And that, he really did stand his ground. The art of not even saying anything, like he kept his posh, like, and at some point, like, all right, I'm done selling this bullshit anyway. So Kaz, you can sell your bullshit.
Dude, he even cut the mayor off. He's like, wait. This is important. Look, Adams is like, is this kid fucking stupid or what? Like, and the bottom line is this: you're at a press conference. One of your colleagues is there answering the questions. Why do you want to interject anything? Why do you want to answer any questions? Why do you need them to know anything? And I'm going to tell you exactly why he needs them to know that and do this is because he loves the attention. What they call him now is they call him, and this didn't come from me. This didn't come from Eric. This didn't come from any retired guys. This is what they call him on the job. They call him the social media deputy commissioner, the deputy commissioner of social media, because his only concern is going viral, is getting news articles, is doing all of these things. And you could clearly see that here. I mean, you clearly see he's like, he needs to get in front of that camera. He comes rushing over while Kemper's on that. I got to get my last words in. I got to say what I got to say. And that's what's the problem in the NYPD right now is there's no leadership. You have guys that will, I'm not kidding, they will walk their mother into the gas chamber if Eric Adams tells them that. And then you have this idiot who's just trying to be in the spotlight, who thinks he's I don't know what he has like a godlike complex. He's actually has a bigger complex than Eric Adams, which is hard to have. That dude's head is like, I'm surprised he even got in that train station. It's crazy. I guess that's the stall link again. See, so Eric wants to talk shit about my Wi-Fi, but he's bringing down everything with that stupid stall link. So we're not on live on Twitter, so we don't have hundreds of people watching this. Also, Elon Musk screws us with the stall link that Eric pays $250 a month for to get the best service there is. Eric, you're back, it looks like.
Yeah, honestly, I'm pissed by that. Pay $250 a month. And for the hardware, it's almost $600. But anyway, I'm going to take it up with Elon Musk. Good luck getting anybody on the phone. I get a ticket for every time I make a complaint. But again, you know what? Listen, I'm not an Eric Adams fan at all. We are super critical of Eric Adams. But right here, I got to say, I agree with him. You can look at his face, man. He looks pissed. Like, what is this idiot doing? Like, the conference is over. We don't want to talk to reporters. We don't want to give the media any information. What are you doing? You got to play that part again when he starts talking, because what does he even add to this conversation anyway? What does he even add? It's just stupid nonsense. There's nothing.
Dude, I'm gonna play it one more time, regular speed, but I'll put it back to regular speed. Which this is a cool feature on Twitter, by the way. You just go over here to the view settings, and then you could do playback speed. But look at the girl in the red. She's like, what the hell is he doing? And look at Gerber. Gerber is another token pale face. He's the deputy commissioner of legal matters. He wants to laugh. He starts touching his face because he's trying to wipe the smirk away from his face because he even sees it. Everybody around is like, what the fuck is going on here? So hold on. I'm going to play it one more time. This is regular speed. I'm going to play it with the volume. You could see Mike Kemper do the dance. And you could see Kaz Daughtry come over in real time because he just has to get in front of the camera. He needs it. He needs the attention.
So it's going to be positioned before people pay, before they pay. So it's not going to be they pay and then they're going to be subject to this. And like it was mentioned before, if they opt to decline, like, hey, I don't want to go through the machine, I don't want to get wanded, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. They just will not be allowed entry into the subway system. Well, they'll be asked to leave if they refuse and act disorderly. They could be, but they're certainly not going to be allowed entry through the turnstile and into the subway system. Yeah, They could. We'll have cops positioned all over. I mean, it's a hypothetical, but here's what's certain: they will not be going into the subway system through that turnstile that they refuse to participate in.
And the mayor, just wanted to say one more thing. When this is not, we're not saying this is the end all solution for weapons detection. We, like the mayor says, he put a call out to other tech companies to contact us. And because you guys ran a couple of stories today, I already got 3 companies that contacted me. So we are in the process of vetting other companies to see if we can introduce new technology down here to keep strap bearings in New York State.
You see Adams at the end, dude. He hits him and tells him, "Beat it."
Someone put in the comments here. They're like, "Look at the paper tap." I was thinking the same thing. He hit him with the paper. That's what I said. He looked like he want to bop him in the head. He hit him with the paper. Like, let's go, you idiot. But you know what's funny about that? It's exactly what I've been saying, John. That's why I wanted you to play it again. Listen to the keywords. He had to jump in. He had to like say, "Listen, move out of the way so I can talk." What does he say? They contacted me. 3 companies contacted me. That's what this is about. I did this. I did that. They contacted me. And that's why this is immature leadership. It seems like he's just an immature person in general, because clearly he's making this about him. He couldn't wait. How many conferences has he had? Him and John Shell, they're on numerous podcasts. I mean, they won't come on this podcast. But that's the part I don't understand. He loves the spotlight. Guys, come on this podcast. We're doing a live right now. We got a lot of people here engaging. I'm sure they'd ask you questions. They would ask how you doing. They could talk to you about this, about your technology, and how they could even ask you how these companies contacted you. I mean, this is FaceTime right here, but of course he doesn't want this FaceTime. He doesn't want the real questions. You know what's funny about this? That this is not even a meme. This is real. This actually happened, because we'll have memes coming out. But honestly, this is funnier than any meme. This is what's going on right now. This is your New York City NYPD leadership under the behest of Mayor Eric Adams. Even Mayor Eric Adams is probably like, "Listen, I put you in place because you're a useful idiot, but let's get the hell out of here. Enough. You're so stupid, I can't even control you."
It's ridiculous, dude. Look at him. Look at him. Look at his face. He gives him the look like, "Beat it. Get out of here." He taps him while he's talking. Let's go. There's no reason to keep putting this shit, because it's just more questions. What technology? What's this? What are we going to do? How else are you going to violate our rights, right? He's an idiot. Like, you open up the door for a million questions. You should have just stood off to the side, got out of there. You could have went and ate lunch and then went back to your office or did whatever the hell you had to do. But instead, you need to get in front of the thing and open the door to more questions, because you want the attention. You want the media calling you and saying, what other companies are you looking at? When are you doing it? What's the pilot going to look like? He just needs to have it, and you see it clear as day. And I think this is my favorite photo, Eric Adams. And, I said it a bunch. And I'm going to give myself credit for coining the phrase, because I said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. The memes make themselves. And here you go. Here's a meme right here, right? I'm going to take this photo right here. I'm going to put a bubble in Eric Adams' mouth and have him say something to Kaz Daughtry, and the meme make itself. I'll throw the logo on it. I'll put the party department logo on Kaz Daughtry's shirt. And there you go. The memes make themselves with this administration. It's a complete clown show. It's completely unprofessional. And the last thing they're worried about is providing public safety to the people in New York City. They're more concerned with who's getting this contract, that they could help one of their friends out. They're more concerned with that they could do this press conference to say that they're doing something to curb subway violence. They're more concerned with any of that. They were so concerned with holding this press conference, they weren't even prepared to answer the question, what happens if someone goes in the train station that's right around the block, or they go in a different path, the way where this isn't it? Oh, there's cops everywhere. We'll make sure. You ain't making sure shit. There's people walking right through that train station that aren't going through that technology. So the whole thing's gaslighting. You're 100% right, Eric. The hundreds of $1,000s that are being spent every month on the Crime is Down campaign is an absolute joke. And New York City taxpayers should be pissed. I'm a New York City taxpayer, and I'm pissed.
Well, you know what? It's this administration loves to hold press conferences and have these conversations constantly gaslighting the public, because they have to do it. You just said, I think that's a great point. Memes speak for themselves, right? The memes make themselves, which is so true, right? Which is why we're able to have these memes out, is because of the ridiculousness that's going on with this administration, but they have to constantly go out and perpetuate their plan because they have no plan. So they have to constantly, when you want to sell bullshit, you have to constantly, if you tell a lie enough, it will become the truth. So they have to constantly be out in the media telling the media, look what we're doing, look what we're doing, because most people are saying, well, what are you doing? We don't see you doing anything. So they have to constantly be in your face and sell you nonsense. I mean, because reality is, if this gun detection system was working and the technology that this police department has been pushing to the public and the crime fighting plan they had was working, guess what, John? They wouldn't have to tell you. Just as the memes make themselves, the public safety plan would sell itself. It would expose itself. But because the public safety plan is not working because there is no plan, they have to sell it. And I think the whole conference was ridiculous. I mean, listen to what they're saying. Michael Kemper is telling these people, well, we have this gun detection system here, but if you don't want to go through it, don't go through it. Just go to another train station. It's just complete hogwash, a waste of money, and absolutely have no plan. He's telling you have tons of cops everywhere. That's absolutely ridiculous because they don't. They don't. It's a diminished police department. And if that's your plan just by flooding places with cops, that's a horrible plan, and it's not sustainable.
100%. I just want to bring in some national news, and I'll bring it back to New York. Bernie Kerik, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but Bernie Kerik tweeted this yesterday. This is Ronald L. Rowe, right? So, and this is what Kerik says. And I don't know if any of you guys watched the testimony. I don't have it ready, but I watched it, and it was pathetic, man. He wouldn't answer the questions directly. Everything was in defense of the Secret Service. There were no direct answers given. And so Bernie Kerik tweets, so the guy that is leading the investigation into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is also the guy that was directly responsible for the day-to-day operations of the U.S. Secret Service. So, I mean, clear as day, you can't say that this person's unbiased. You can't say that this person's completely uninvolved. And we're seeing that on a national scale. And now the same holds true when you bring it down to Ed Caban, when you bring it down to Jeffrey Madry, when you bring it down to John Schell. They're in charge of investigating themselves. Do you think that they're going to find anything wrong? I mean, at this point, we need to, I think, establish independent law enforcement watchdogs who have actual law enforcement experience, who are proven people of integrity that will not sway with the Republicans or with the Democrats. You need actual independent investigations happening, not only in the New York City Police Department, but clearly on the federal level as well. Because I'm telling you, if you guys haven't watched the testimony, you have to watch it. It's something. I saw Ted Cruz rip this guy to shreds, and he wouldn't answer a question. And I was actually infuriated listening to it. And you got to think, Ted Cruz, he's going hard on this guy because he wants to know the facts. Donald Trump made fun of Ted Cruz's wife. I believe he said she was ugly. These are things that, like, I'm not forgiving you. I'm not, and I don't think Ted Cruz probably forgive him, but Ted Cruz was seeking the truth in that moment, and he couldn't get it. He would put his biases about Donald Trump aside, and he's like, what the hell happened here? Why wasn't the roof covered? Why wasn't this? But look at this, Eric. What do you think about the person that's in charge of the day-to-day operations investigating what happened at the assassination attempt?
Well, I'm going to answer that, but first I have to laugh because this picture, I don't know why. Every time I see Ed Caban's picture, especially this one here, it looks like a bad Pablo Escobar movie. Honestly, I just have to laugh every time I see that picture. I'm like, this guy is the most insignificant police commissioner. He just wants to be a movie star. This is the whole administration. Kaz wants to be a movie star. Ed Caban wants to be a movie star. They don't want to be police officers. They don't want to lead the police department. They just enjoy being celebrities. But yeah, I just got to laugh at that. I mean, look at that picture here on the right-hand side. But sure, back to this, I thought Ted Cruz did a great job, asking those questions. Again, this is what we talk about on every level, and it's actually reflective of when we talk about this. When we talk about the Civilian Complaint Review Board, I've never said that we should abolish the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I think it's necessary. I think it's an independent, necessary tool and a resource to maintain the professionalism of the police department. But that independent watchdog should be comprised of those that have a police perspective, but they're also not part of the rank and file, and they don't have a direct line to the rank and file and part of the leadership. It does need to be independent and outsourced, but we need a police perspective, and especially on this level. we're not going to get, we could say, can we assume? No, we are not going to get a complete, transparent, and thorough investigation by the same person that is in line with Secret Service. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. Somewhere there are relationships with coworkers and people that just completely taint the transparency of this investigation. I agree when it comes to New York City Police Department, any law enforcement agency on the local, state, and national level, that these things should be independently outsourced. They should be independent watchdogs, but with that law enforcement perspective, not a civilian perspective, because civilian perspective is held back through the Dunning-Kruger effect. They do not understand the civil linings and underlinings. Just as we learned today, if you watch the episode yesterday where we did a watch party in regards to a podcast about diversity, equity, inclusion, where a civilian employee of the New York City Police Department actually implemented policy with the DEI movement, but yet never actually had the boots on the ground doing police work. We need actual perspective to actually understand that particular part and that profession.
100%, Eric. You clearly, he had a total defensive stance. He was unwilling to answer any questions, and he kept just going on to the hard work of the men and women in the Secret Service. It's the same deflection that the New York City Police Department does too. If you criticize the leadership, if you criticize the decision making, you're supposedly attacking the rank and file. This couldn't be furthest from the truth. You know, we're exercising our rights as civilians to criticize people who are public servants, which include our elected officials, you know? And so, you know, I continuously been seeing the rhetoric from Eric Adams talking about how online criticism leads to political violence, which is an absolute joke, because there was someone in his own office, Tyler Barberi, Office of Management and Budget, on the police task force at one time, who cheered on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, said, too bad he missed. And Eric Adams excused it. So he's not concerned with political violence. He's concerned with the criticism of himself. He's concerned with people that are upset that instead of taking care of what needs to happen in New York City and putting on a show, being more concerned with what guys you're hanging out with that night, that somehow that leads to political violence, when it absolutely doesn't. I mean, and I clearly displayed that when I ran into Justin Brannon, someone who I'm completely at odds with everything when it comes to dieting. You know, I put a picture up. Someone said that looks like a before and an after. You know, and I'm like, here you go. This is I support eating meat. He says meat's murder. He has a meat is murder tattoo on his neck. I mean, right there, we're like ideologically like completely opposite. When it comes to politics, he's a far left progressive. He doesn't like the police. He doesn't, you know, he believes that we're racist. He pulls in all these progressive things. But when I seen him, we joked around. We had a conversation. I told him what bills that I want him to pay attention to, and I would like to see him reach an olive branch out and show that he actually does support city workers, not only the police, but teachers, sanitation workers, firefighters, and all that. And that's what we need to do. We're not violent people, me and Eric. We're just Americans. We're Americans that voice our opinions, and we do it the same way we're doing it here. So, Eric, I want you to break down this video. I want you to take a look at the video. I'm going to play it for the audience, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. This is something that I didn't show Eric, and I didn't speak to him about it. So you're going to see Snoop Dogg, who appears to be a Snoop Dogg, interacting with a member of the citywide response team. We could tell that based upon the khaki pants that they're wearing. Here, I'm going to bring in that video right now. And then the audience, if you have any thoughts, feel free. We'll read it out.
At this point, it's harassment. I know.
They're just reaching for no apparent reason. So do your job.
Look,
protect the neighborhood.
look. Yo, put the double on camera. Pump ass. Look. I don't even know what's going on. I know he's killing him. He's killing him, right? At this point, it's harassment. I know.
Is that the entirety of the video?
That's
So just looking at this video right here, I will say this. I'll compliment the citywide response team that these particular two cops, they maintain their professionalism. But again, I always say, listen, I used to tell my cops, when you're addressing a situation, you don't want to be the show, because clearly right now they're a circus and they're a clown show for these people that are these persons of interest as subjects. Clearly, at this point, it looks like, from what I gather, we don't have the entire context. It looks like this police officer right here is checking for a potential warrant, or he's looking for some information. That's what it looks like. But again, there's absolutely no respect for the police officers. I do have some issues with the tactics here, but I see that this police officer looks like he's in great shape. He's a big kid, so he feels very confident in his potential adversaries. But at that point, that's a mistake. Listen, I train. Don't ever put yourself in a situation, even if you're much larger than your adversary, in a situation where they could still hit you. Listen, I always use this example. Most of us have kids. If you hold a 2-year-old baby in your arms and they poke you in the eye by accident, it's going to hurt and you're going to blink your eyes. And for that 1 second, you're closing your eyes. And it's the same thing here. Even this particular subject is detained right now by the khaki pants. He's acting out of control. He's got no respect for the police because he knows nothing's going to happen to him. He knows there's no consequence. But still, don't take your eyes off the prize, because if he pokes you in the eye by accident, you're going to blink your eyes for 2 seconds. And that's just enough for them to even get to a position where they could surround you and hurt you. But this is the state of what's going on in policing right now. Listen, we're very critical of the khaki pants right now because it's a two-tiered system within the police department. But I will commend their professionalism. They're being ridiculed right now, but they're staying professional. But this is what's going on right now. But even though he's a large police officer, he's young, he's in great shape, and this is what we should see. He wears his uniform, extremely professional. He still put himself in a precarious position.
Yeah, I agree. First off, I'm jealous about this tight shirt that he's got on. I would have looked awesome in that shirt. I'd still look pretty awesome in that shirt. I get a Staten Island medium, and then so I think, listen, I'm not a fan of the khaki pants. And the reason I'm not a fan of it is because I think it creates two different departments. I don't think it's a terrible look. I just think if you're going to give it to one, just let everybody wear it, right? And then have different uniforms for different things. Maybe you don't wear this during parades. I don't like the separation and division creating two departments. I think we should all be one department. So I have no issue with them wearing that uniform. I agree with you. This guy's a complete moron. But I will say, if I was on a stop and someone's acting like that and he's wigging his shoulders at me, I'm not going to do a warrant check at that point. I'm going to put him in handcuffs. And I'm going to say, if you don't calm down, and I'm going to let him know before I even put him in handcuffs. I'll be like, listen, I'm stopping you for XYZ. We could do this back at the precinct. I'll throw you in handcuffs, or you could chill out. But if you keep making motions like that, I'm going to put you in handcuffs, and I'll check it from there. I'm going to put you on the ground. So I got to say, at that point, that's one thing I don't like, right? I don't like anybody doing this to me. If you do this to me today, I don't care if you're going to beat me up. We're fighting. Like, you're not doing that to me. It's not happening. You're not getting close to me and doing that to me. You're not doing it. I'm punching you right in the face. I don't care if you beat me up. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to I'm not going to take the shot. As much as I think that this kid wins the fight, the big kid, right? He's muscular. He's in shape. He's not standing. He should have his dominant foot back. He's obviously a righty. His right foot should be placed back. His hands should be up so that he's ready. Because I'll tell you, I've fought in lanky, skinny kids like this. This kid looks like Snoop Dogg, but he could get some power behind him, and he could get the jump on him very easily. Very easily, he could get the jump on the big dude. I think if I put them in a ring, that big dude destroys him, kills him. I agree with you. He's definitely confident, and you could tell in the stance. He's not whatever, but I think it's false confidence. I don't think he should have that confidence. I think they should both be stepped back a little bit if they're going to check, or one of them have his hands on him up against the fence or something like that, or possibly even in handcuffs with him acting like this, and then step back and doing that, because there's a large crowd around them. And if you guys are in this situation at all and you have to write the summons or you have to do that, I highly recommend, hey, let me just get another car over here, administrative. Really, you just need some more presence, because clearly there's a lot of people around them. Maybe even get 2 cars there. I don't like being in the situation at all. But, again, I think these are things that you're going to see a lot of poor tactics, because the people that they're putting in these units really don't have the patrol experience. And this is what you learn doing patrol with older cops. And the problem even with patrol is now you don't have all the cops like yourself, like myself, like the people we came out with. A lot of guys leave and getting a lot of calls, people that left, a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think all in all, I think the tactics are horrible. I think the professionalism's there. I commend them. But I just, I watch it. I kind of cringe, man. And I seen the CRT team do a couple of car stops, and I cringe, man. I'm telling you, I'm not lying. I cringe. I get scared.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I used to task my men and women. I used to always task them with a mission. I used to always say, like, you have to be mission oriented. And I believe in that. Like, we move in, we have a mission, we have a purpose, or we move out. And that's the problem. And I will say this. I think by the demeanor of the two police officers, they're so confident because they're young, they're in shape, and this guy is completely like malnourished, a Snoop Dogg looking figure. I think they're confident that if this warrant does pop positive and yields positive results for a warrant, that they could easily get him into handcuffs. And even though they know that, and that confidence, I'm glad you brought that up, is false confidence. Because why even put yourself in that position? I believe you want to break the OODA loop, right? Observe, orient, decide, and act. So right now, this particular subject is in your sight, is thinking about what's going on. He's joking around to sidetrack you and distract you, but he's thinking to himself, if this warrant does pop positive, what is my next step? And that's what's going on here. That's what the police officers don't realize because they don't have the experience that he's planning right now. So let's say he does yield positive results for a warrant. They've given him so much time that he could plan out. Maybe he's going to run. So why do you want to get into that position? So you've checked the warrant, and now you have to pursue this perpetrator. Or even why do you even get yourself into a position where you have to get into a tussle, and now you're on cameras and you're subjected to optics of how that's going to appear, and you have to fill out a threat resistance injury report, which is basically self-reporting to Civilian Complaint Review Board. Why put yourself in that position where immediately being mission-oriented and task-oriented that you would break that OODA loop and exactly what we said, put them in handcuffs. And I think these cops have a real false sense of security. And I will say that. That's why I'm so happy I trained for so many years. I've competed in boxing and in some fight gyms. And I can tell you, I've boxed some guys who are lighter than me and younger than me. And there was I've received a couple of punches. Well, I got rocked. I've even got knocked down many times. And it humbles you. Like, wow, you know what? This person is much smaller, and I could still get hurt. And that's why I love wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I do wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and you compete with guys much smaller than you, and man, they give you some kind of fight, and it humbles you to realize, you know what? Don't take anything for granted. Don't use physical stature as a measure of how you handle police work. That's why I say this particular police officer, I'm sure he'll learn if he had the right leadership that his tactics should be the same for this person of interest, this subject, as if he was handling someone the size of Shaq. Your tactics should always be ready to protect yourself and to handle business. And that's why I say, don't be the show. Either put them in handcuffs, get the hell out of there, or don't even address it at all. But to stand there and be the show, they're just giving them more time to think about their plan. Then you have people, you have a crowd, and you just create more barriers and obstacles for you to actually handle your mission.
I mean, I froze it right here because this was always this was a trigger for me. On duty, off duty, in high school, injury. If you did that and you pulled your pants up on me, your next move is you're going to throw a punch, right? So I'm not going to let you get that off. So that's like that right there. I'm taking my head out of the phone. I'm stepping back. I'm stepping back in a fight in defensive position. We're getting ready to fight. And I think people need to pay attention to that. The other thing is, I think a lot, like when I was a young cop, I was dumb as shit. I really was. I was like, I was a street kid. So when, people would walk by the R&P and they would like skrill you, right? And walk real slow. And I would be like, what the fuck you looking at? Right. And then I was with an older guy and he's like, what are you doing, bro? I got out of the car. What are you looking at? Blah, 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 blah. And the older guy goes, what are you doing? And I was like, why is he looking at? Why is he walking in front of the car like that? Did the light turn green? What the hell is that? He's like, bro, he doesn't know you. He ain't doing that to you off duty. He's just a punk. He's just looking for that interaction. He goes, and who looks like the punk, him or you? And I was like, wow, man, he's right. so right. And it like kind of was like an ego blow to me. And I kind of like thought about things a lot differently after that. And there's a lot of ego in that posture right there and that stance. Like, oh, I'll take this kid. Screw you. You ain't doing nothing to me, Snoop Dogg. And I get it, because more than likely you will take him in less than a minute. I get that. But the other thing is, you're clearly outnumbered here. You have people behind you. So not everything needs enforcement at that time, right? That kid's talking shit to me from the car. I see him drinking. I see him doing something he's not. And there's a ton of people. Maybe you got no one else around you and you're in that neighborhood by yourself and there's not a lot of cops that day. Maybe you don't get him that day. Maybe you don't stop him that day. Maybe you just smile and go, I'll see you soon. And the next time you see him, when he's not with a bunch of people, he's by himself and he's doing something stupid, bam, hey, remember me? How you doing? And you give him the summons then, and you do that. There's you got to remove your ego out of policing. And I think you got to move tactically and smart. And I don't think you got to win every situation. And I don't think that everything always needs to be addressed either. I don't know what the stop was, but to me it appears minor because it was something major. He'd be in handcuffs in the back of the car. There wouldn't be a need to run a warrant check on him on your phone out on the street. So if something minor like that, I wouldn't put myself into that situation. I did it a few times as a younger cop, and I realized what a bad situation I put myself and my partner in. So I think when you're gonna take enforcement action, specifically on minor crimes, there's a time and a place to do that too. You don't want to put yourself into a really bad situation. You could possibly cause a riot on New York City streets that day. And it all stemmed from that dude was drinking, and then when it comes out in the papers, everyone's turning their back on you. Oh, this cop's crazy, So I just think keep that in the back of your head too when you're out there for the younger guys.
I used to tell my cops also, you know what? Save it for a rainy day. Save it for the right day. This particular police officer here, like I said, I think he's in great shape. It looks like he's pretty tall. I can't tell, but he looks like he's young. He's got all his hair. I'm losing my hairline. But he looks like he's young. He's in shape. He's strong. Why waste your effort and your energy on this malnourished perpetrator, this person of interest, right? He's malnourished. This is a waste of time for him. Save that energy for when you're with a perpetrator adversary who's just shot 3 people, some guy who's 6'2", who's 250 pounds. He's in great shape just to get out of jail. That's the guy you want to be ready for. Why have to fight with this idiot? Save your energy. Because even if you end up fighting with this idiot, you could still get injured. Let's say he deploys a punch, he breaks his finger. Now you're out of service. So you have to think smart. But this takes time. Exactly what you said. You have to emotionally detach. You remove your ego. But where do you learn that from, John? You know where you learn that from? Leadership. You learn that from good leaders and veteran police officers. Clearly, there's no veteran police officers in that unit. Someone should put their arm around him and talk to him. Say, yo, look at you, dude. Dude, you're a male specimen. You're built like LeBron James. You look like you're about 6'2". You're 25 years old. You're in tip-top shape. What do you need to fight with this idiot? You could beat this kid up just by grabbing him with 2 fingers, or as John says, the salad tongues, right? This kid's no match for you. There's no metric of measuring physical stature here. It's just not worth it for you. It's not worth it. And this is going to be an assumption, but by their demeanor, and I think because they're young and stupid, John, I think they're also intentionally standing there super confident, not presenting their tactics and allowing him to continue, because I think these cops kind of want the fight because they're young. They're young, they're in shape, and they know they can take him. I think they kind of want the fight. And even though you can win that fight, as you get older, and that's why I think training is so important, you learn from experience, you're better off. That fight that you don't have, that's a win. That is a win, because if you're a New York City police officer, especially with the amount of crime going on right now, and if you're wearing khaki pants, you will have enough situations that will come to you. The fight will come to you, even if you avoid it. Eventually, that fight will come to you. So let that fight come to you. You don't have to find that fight.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, man. I think it's a great point. Anything else before we get out of here? We're going on about an hour, 30 minutes. I'm still pissed that we're not live on Twitter right now. It really bothers me, but is what it is.
listen, like I said, we apologize that we're not live on Twitter. There's some kinks that we're going to work out with production. I apologize for the Wi-Fi issues, but what's most important is that we get the information, that we're speaking out, and we're giving critical opinions, and we're so delighted that we have engagement here and we have comments, and it's really important. Thank you so much for supporting us. Supporting us is supporting you, supporting the police department, supporting policing the profession, and actually analyzing what's going on with politics out there. So thank you so much. We will rectify these issues. They're just small hiccups, but small steps leads to big success. So thank you so much for supporting us. If you leave any donations in the comments, we appreciate it. It's a self-funded podcast. Thank you so much. New York's Finest Unfiltered podcast, your 265 Police Live series. It's been great, John. You know it. Let's keep doing it.
Absolutely. And for you guys on Instagram that are watching us, if you want, and even people that will watch this later on Twitter, when we're able to stream again, we'll stream it as a pre-recorded. We'll stream all these that we've been missing out on this week. But if you want to interact with us, we don't see the comments on Instagram. We don't see the comments on Twitter. We only see the comments on YouTube. Go to our YouTube at the Finest Unfiltered, or wherever you're watching this, on Twitch or Rumble. Rumble, we see the comments. LinkedIn, I'm not seeing the comments either. So if you're on LinkedIn, you're watching this, you want to interact with us, you want to make comments, definitely go over to our YouTube, like and subscribe. Again, if you're on the job, I just got a lot of dudes that retired and gave us heads up that like they're literally scrubbing on social media every day looking for active members of the service, completely misuse of police resources, complete misuse of taxpayer funds. But this is what Kaz Daughtry and John Shell are doing, because the memes are a big blow to their ego. They don't like to get made fun of. So if that's the case, just make a burner account and just come on and interact. It doesn't matter what your name is. They're not going to go that deep into it. And if they do, you're going to have a big lawsuit. Don't worry about it. We'll bring it in on ours that we're going to put against them. So don't worry about it, because this is America. We have First Amendment rights. When you're off duty, if you're not giving confidential information, you're allowed to say what the hell you want to say. They're not even going to be able to identify you anyway. So like and subscribe. Don't worry about those losers. They're going to be gone shortly anyway. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community, but who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed, or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.